Hello everyone, I hope you are doing great and having an optimum health. So you already know that who already clicked the chapters and the videos. This is actually the foundation of SSC level biology. So those who are right now is watching this video, you should know that this chapter, the title is Cell and the Tissues of Organisms, are the foundations of biology. And most importantly, this chapter will give you the essence of biology actually, because this chapter is dealing about only cells and tissues. These two words will have loads of information inside and of course the essence of biology. So I already wrote some important topics that will be discussed in this chapter, and hopefully there will be some series of videos, because this is quite impossible for me to upload the whole things of the chapter in a single video. But this is actually SSC level biology or O level biology, because in your O level books there is a chapter of cells and tissues, and also in SSC biology, those are students of Cadet college and also the English version students, you know that on your book the second chapter is all about cells and tissues. So I'm thinking to upload some series of videos on this chapter. Firstly, if I see that the important topics of the chapter is the types of cells, we must know that what are the types of cells based on some different aspect. Then we need to know about the cytoplasmic organelles. Like we know that there are something that in the previous classes we already studied, like in cells there are mitochondria, plastid, centrosome, lysosome, ribosome, cell vacuoles, nucleus, chromosome, and cytoskeleton, microtubules, and so on. So all these things are very important. So in A-level biology or even HSC level biology, there are much more explanations on each and every single organelles. But in the SSC level biology, I shall explain these things in a single video. So first we need to know the types of cells, and then we need to know what are the cytoplasmic organelles inside the cell. And of course we need to know what are the structure, what is the structure of the plant cell and animal cell. Most importantly, then we need to know a very different thing, which is the summations and the groups of cells, which is called tissue, and we need to know about plant tissue and of course animal tissues. There are some divisions of tissues. In case of plant tissues there are some divisions, and also in case of animal tissues there are some divisions. And of course, and last of all, when we know about the cells, tissues, and then we need to know about organs. So there are some chronology. If you just focus on this word cell, then after that, this is a very fundamental and structural and functional unit of a living body. We know it well. So from cell we need to study about tissue, and then after, when we'll study about tissue, we need to know about organ, and then when we will know about organ, we must have understand there is a process of system. I mean, there are system which is actually a complex process of a whole body. In our body we have digestive system, we have respiratory system, excretory system, metabolic system, and there are lots of process, integumentary system and reproductive system. All these systems are combined of some organs. So this is actually the chronology to understand the living organism. As we know that we will study here cell and tissues of organisms, so we need to follow the flowchart. At first we need to know about cells, and then tissue, and then organ, and then system. So last of all, there will be another classes on organs and systems, because this is quite impossible to upload a whole class about whole body systems. It's impossible because there are loads of information inside. So first of all, to know about cell, we know that there are series of scientists to explain. Especially we know about Robert Hooke, who invented cell in 1665. So we must know the scientist Robert Hooke in 1665 who invented cell, and there was some history of invention of cells. I'll tell you later. And on this chapter we also know there are some scientists, we must say that Loe and Sikowitz in 1669 who said that cells are the unit, the functional unit of life, which has the extreme power of duplicate itself by themselves. I mean, they can duplicate without any other help of others. So there are some regeneration process of cells so that they can actually help in case of divisions and so that the body growth will take place. So Lois and Sikowitz, they have wondered with the cells definitions that cells are the structural and functional unit of a living body or living organisms. So understanding the definition of cell, we need to know what are the types of cells. So if I say about the types of cells, we need to know that cells based on the types. So we can say at first based on the organization, based on the organization of nucleus, and secondly we can say that based on function, simply speaking. So as we know that primarily the cells are divided into two different types, plant cell and animal cell. But if you go based on the organization of nucleus, we must know that cells are two types. Number one, you know that this pro, and then this is karyotic cell, and this is eukaryotic cell. And the word karyon is the meaning of nucleus. As we know that a good structured nucleus are the main functional center of a living cells. So nucleus controls all the process what's going on inside the cells. So the karyon means nucleus. So where the prokaryotic cell means, in this type of cells the nucleus would be primitive type. That means primitive type means this is some sort of like where the nucleus are actually not true. So in this type of cells there are no true nucleus, so that the nuclear materials are not wrapped up. So as we know that based on the previous understanding of nucleus, there is a nuclear membrane. So the membrane is a layer actually, and inside there will be a nucleolus, and throughout the whole side there will be a plasm which is called the nucleoplasm, and there are some sort of net-like and this sort of things which is actually chromosome. So all the genetic materials which is actually DNA, we know that DNA is the deoxyribonucleic acid, is wrapped up through a process and through a layer, and this layer is called the nuclear membrane. So here in prokaryotic cell, you must know there is no true nucleus. So like we can say that in case of blue-green algae and some sort of bacteria, they are prokaryotic cell because they don't have a true nucleus. We will study later on a structure of a typical bacteria, and on that structure we must know that there are actually no sort of like a true nucleus inside. There are some nuclear materials and there are some genetic material. In prokaryotic cell there will be only ribosome. So you must know these ribosomes actually 70S type of ribosome. I'll explain you later on when I'll explain only about the ribosome. There will be a single class where that 70S and 80S, there is a Svedberg unit will be explained on the types of ribosome. So this type of ribosome is available in prokaryotic cell, whereas there is primitive type of nucleus, and there will be no wrapped DNA. So there will be unwrapped DNA, which will be the genetic material inside of prokaryotic cell. Usually prokaryotic cell divided through the binary fission or amitotic cell division. So we can say this is the sort of like binary or amitotic division. And this is actually the study of the next chapter. When we will understand this chapter whole, then we need to know the next chapter will be discussed about the cell division. And on that class we will know that cell division is 3 types actually: mitosis, mitosis and meiosis. So hopefully prokaryotic cells are those, they have primitive type of nucleus, there is no true nucleus, there is a only ribosome except any other cytoplasmic organelles, and the division would be like through the binary fissions or amitotic divisions. And of course the example are blue-green algae and bacteria. But eukaryotic cell, there is actually true nucleus. True nucleus, that means the nucleus which is fully structured. So in eukaryotic cell there are true nucleus which is wrapped with the nuclear membrane. Inside there are nucleoplasm, chromatin, fiber and nucleolus. Second, there would be ribosome and other cytoplasmic organelles. So other cytoplasmic organelles, like I said earlier, the ribosome, centrosome, lysosome, Golgi body, plastid, mitochondria, centrioles, that will be present inside the nucleus. So here the ribosome would be 80S type, and most importantly the eukaryotic cells are all living cells which are most like higher class animals and higher class plants. So these cells are eukaryotic cells. So based on the organization of nucleus, we know there are 2 types of nucleus cells, and based on the function we can say there are again 2 types of cells, which is somatic cell and gametic cell. So what are those? Some, the word is only found in like chromosome, centrosome, ribosome and some. This some means a body. So somatic cell, actually that type of cells which will be the responsible for grow up the body or living organism. So somatic cell are actually the diploid type of cells. This diploid means there will be a 2n types of chromosome. I'll explain it later on when I'll explain about in case of cytoplasmic organelles chromosome. But here in somatic cell, this type of cells is responsible for the body growth through the mitotic process. And gametic cell, and there are again 2 types. We can say that male gamete and female gamete. So in case of male gamete, like in humans or in even other animals, like there are sperm and ovum which will be fused and will produce zygote, and that zygote through the repetitive mitotic process that will be responsible for the body growth. So gametic cell will be 2 types. There is a male gamete and female gamete, and this male gamete is actually haploid, and also this female gamete is also haploid. When these 2 different type of gamete fuse together through the process of sexual reproduction, then they will form a new type of cell which is called zygote, and this zygote is actually diploid type of cells, which is 2n. So in case of understanding the types of cells, actually cells types are huge. There are loads of other informations that I didn't explain it here. I only explained what is inside the books. So you must know that based on the organization of nucleus, there are two types of cells, prokaryotic and eukaryotic. And based on function, we again can divide the cells into two different categories: is somatic cell and reproductive cell. In case of somatic cell, they are diploid and they are responsible for body growth. And this gamete cell or gamete cells, they are actually two types. And of course, in case of plants, will have the same gamete cells, male and female. So these two types of cells is responsible for the reproductions. So these are simultaneously working in our body. And then if we divide these cells into the structure, so I just remove it. I'm erasing these things, if you understand well, because it's written on your book. So if I again divide cell to understand the structure of cell, primarily we will have two different things. This is the structure. So as you know that on your book, I don't know it will be similar or not, on your book this sort of things is written. You know, this is actually the typical plant cell and this is a typical animal cell, and by this figure we can understand that there are some differences between this plant and animal cell. We can see there is a large vacuole here. This is called cell vacuole, which is present in plant cell, but there are some sort of like a huge vacuoles in middle side of the cells. So this is animal cell. And here a single layer which is called the plasma lemma, but here in plant cell we can see there are two different layers of outside. The most outside layer is the cell wall, and inside there is plasma lemma. So there are some sort of like differences in between these two cells. We'll explain it later based on the video title, the difference between plant and animal cell. I will upload it later on because this chapter will have series of videos to understand every single topic clearly. So cell structure, first there are cell wall, which is a very unique character of plant cell, the cell wall. And there is a protoplasm. So to understand the structure of cell, we need to consider these two words. This is cell wall and this is protoplasm. As cell wall is a unique part of plant cell, so the rest of the things are only required to understand the both cells. So to understand protoplasm, we need to divide it again into three different aspects. Number one, this is plasma lemma. And then there is cytoplasm, and inside there is nucleus. So in case of plasma lemma, we know that every single cell is wrapped up with semi-permeable membrane, and these semi-permeable membrane known as the plasma lemma. And wrapping of the plasma lemma, there is another border or another layer outside of plasma lemma, which is actually the unique character of plant cell. This is cell wall. And then this is cytoplasm, and there are some cytoplasmic organelles inside the cytoplasm. And most importantly, those are important, like number one, we need to know about mitochondria, we need to know about plastid, and this is also a unique character of plant cell. We need to know about centrosome, we need to know about ribosome, there will be Golgi body, there will be endoplasmic reticulum, there will be like cell vacuole, and there will be cytoskeleton, there will be like even cell vacuole, cytoskeleton, microtubules, and so on. So in case of understanding the cytoplasmic organelles, we need to know each of these cytoplasmic organelles in detail. So we need to know how to draw mitochondria, what are the inside of mitochondria, what are the functions of mitochondria, and also plastid, what is the structure of plastid, where it lies, and how many types of plastids and what are their functions properly. And centrosome, ribosome, Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum. We have two types of endoplasmic reticulums in our cell, that is rough and plain. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, because in the body of the layer of endoplasmic reticulum there will be ribosome. If ribosome presents in the endoplasmic reticulum, there will be rough. And if there is no ribosome, then it's called plain endoplasmic reticulum. So in the next class, I shall explain these things elaboratively. And you also know that when you read this chapter, you see there are number of informations are there, and you should not skip this chapter, especially those who are studying in English versions and also Cadet College. You must know that this same chapter you must read on your HSC level and A level education. This nucleus again divided into 4 different types. It's not about types, the part of the nucleus. That number 1, inside the nucleus there will be nucleolus, and inside there will be a nucleoplasm, and there will be the chromosome, and inside there will be a nuclear membrane. So these are actually the main parts of nucleus. So as we know earlier that previously they're based on the organization of nucleus, the cells are 2 different types. Is prokaryotic. Pro means previous, the primitive type of nucleus, and eu means the new. So eukaryotic cell, which is the most well organized structural cells. So to understand the structure of cells, we got cell wall and of course protoplasm. So in case of understanding the cell wall, I will explain it later on, because in cell wall there are actually different types and layers of cell wall. There will be a primary layer, secondary layer, and there will be a gap in between these. And most importantly, when 2 different cells adjoin each other, there is a small pores and a very tiny connecting tubes in between 2 cells. This is called plasmodesmata. So on next class I shall be explaining about cytoplasmic organelles based on this one, and there will be 6 to 7 tutorials. The mitochondria, plastid, centrosome, ribosome, Golgi body, and microtubules and cytoskeleton. And then there will be a class of plant tissues and animal tissues. You know the divisions of plant tissues are 2. That is meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. And there are more subdivisions after. And most importantly, in animal tissues, we'll have 4 types of animal tissues. Connective tissues, epithelial tissues, nerve tissues, and muscular tissues. So, and again there are some subdivisions of these types. So we need to know what are the exact meaning of each and every single types of tissues and what are the functions of tissues. So hopefully I'll explain it later on, and through the series you will have a full classes on this chapter, and after this chapter we shall be explaining about the more detail about cell divisions. So see you on the next class. Stay well and stay tuned with me, and do let me know what is the requirement. Take care, stay well, bye.